Okay, back to the dinim of tzitzis. Shh. Now we know a rule in halacha that the brachas you have to make, it's called in the Gemara's expression, over lasiyasan, meaning you need to make a bracha before you do the mitzvah. Because once you did the mitzvah, you can't make a bracha anymore. So, because you did it already, so you're not obligated to do it. So therefore you have like this, when you put on a tallis cotton in the morning, usually the custom is, it depends, your hands are not clean, you have to wash your hands. So many people will make a bracha when they say brachas, then they finish making for the brachas, then they'll take the tzitzis of the tallis cotton and they'll make a bracha. Now when you put on a tallis gadol, the big tallis, so over there the mitzvah is, as we say in the bracha, lis'atev batzitzis. Atifa means you have to wrap yourself in the tzitzis. That's the mitzvah. Tallis cotton, you make a shek shemes v'seh, no, a mitzvah tefillah, a mitzvah tzitzis. But by the tallis gadol, the mitzvah is actually to do the atifa, the wrapping, and everybody does different atifas, different wrappings. So when you put on the tallis, before you do the actual wrapping, so that's when you make the bracha l'sativ batzitzis. Now many people have a minig, and that's unofficially our minig too, that if you're wearing a big tallis, then you don't make and you're making a bracha on a big tallis, then you don't make a bracha on the tallis cotton in the morning. Because the bracha on the big tallis covers that plus, in other words, so you don't actually have to make a new bracha. Now you're only allowed to make a bracha on tzitzis during the day, because it says, you have to see it. It's interesting, the Koraites, the Tzedukim that didn't believe in Torah Shebaal Peh, okay, if you look in Chumash, the Torah doesn't say you have to wear a four-cornered garment. Torah says, Urisam Eisei. So they actually didn't wear tzitzis. They took a four-cornered garment, they put tzitzis on it, and hung it on the wall. That's what the people that didn't believe in Torah Shebaal Peh, because that's what the book says. You put it on the garment, Urisam Eisei, you should see it. So they would put it on the wall and they would look at it. But obviously Torah Shebaal Peh says, no, you have to actually wear the garment. So that's the mitzvah of wearing it. But because it says Urisam Eisei, it means you have to only wear tzitzis during the day. And in the second, we're going to discuss the details of that din. It's big arguments in the Rishonim about that din itself. So anyway, you can't make a bracha on tzitzis in the middle of the night. Okay, the earliest technically you can make a bracha on tzitzis is Aleis HaShachar, which is 72 minutes basically before sunrise. Some people say you should wait until Mishiyakir, that you're able to see the difference, a friend, that's semi-friend, 6 feet away without any street lights or anything, which is a big shaila in halacha exactly how many minutes that is. Some poskim say, there's a prima garden that says it's 6 minutes after Aleis HaShachar is already Mishiyakir. But anyway, if somebody's in a rush, you're allowed to make a bracha on the tzitzis already at Aleis HaShachar, which is dawn, which in certain respects, in aspects, in halacha is considered day. Now there's a very interesting shaila. It's not a shaila, it's an argument in the Rishonim. When the Torah says a day garment, the day needs tzitzis, night doesn't need tzitzis. Does the Torah mean day yes, night no, no matter what type of garment you're wearing? Or does the Torah mean day garment yes, even if you wear it at night, and a night garment no, even if you wear it during the day? This is a machlekes in the Rishonim. Okay? The long Tzemach Tzedek about this in Piskei Dinim, but there's a lot about this concept. When the Torah says, we know b'yom, during the day you don't need to have you need to have tzitzis. At night you don't need to have tzitzis. But the question is, what does that mean? If I wear a day garment at night, so according to certain opinions, you wouldn't need tzitzis then because it's night. Other opinions say, and if you wear a night garment during the day, then you would need tzitzis. Or do you say, no, it has nothing to do with night and day. A day garment needs tzitzis always, even at night, and a night garment needs tzitzis even and it doesn't need tzitzis even during the day. Okay? So based on this, you have a few issues. Many people are makpid that's our minig, and the Rebbe has many letters about even little kids, we sleep in tzitzis. Now some people don't sleep in tzitzis, because they say nighttime doesn't need tzitzis. I'm not getting the mitzvah at night anyway. Why do I need to wear tzitzis at night? So there's two issues with that. Number one, by the time you wake up, it's usually day. That means part of the day you're not wearing tzitzis, when you could have been wearing tzitzis. But there's a second issue. For instance, the Tallis cotton that you wear is a day garment. So according to many Rishonim, when I wear a day tzitzis at night, so I'm actually doing a mitzvah tzitzis at night also. Instead, so therefore our meaning is we sleep in the Tallis cotton, because according to many opinions, a day garment that you wear at night, you're also getting the mitzvah, it's obligated in tzitzis, and therefore you're getting a mitzvah tzitzis. But to explain it, you have interesting shahs that people don't even think about. For instance, when you talk about wearing a garment, whether it's wearing shatnez, that you're not allowed to wear shatnez, or you're talking about wearing tzitzis, it doesn't only mean you put it over your head. And if you cover yourself with a blanket of shatnez, you're transgressing the sin of shatnez. The silbish doesn't only mean you wear it like a garment. The silbish is you wrap yourself in a garment or cover yourself with a garment, that garment is adding warmth or whatever, so that it's called wearing. So l'mashal, you're not allowed to wear, sleep under a cloth that has shatnez in it, okay? Because it's called wearing. One second. So now the question is, a blanket on your bed has four corners. A blanket is four corners. You wear it, you cover yourself with a blanket. I know guys that round off the corner, but I've never seen tzitzis on a blanket yet. I've seen a lot of things. I've never seen tzitzis on a blanket. So the question is, why not? Like if I want to take a nap during the day, Shabbos afternoon I want to take a nap. These days Shvachamaisis, because it's short Shabbos. But I know long I want to take a Shabbos afternoon nap, and it's cold, I go under the covers. Why doesn't that blanket need tzitzis? I'm wearing a garment without tzitzis. So the answer to that question is, because a blanket is officially a night garment. A blanket, officially, you're not supposed to sleep during the day, Bukhar. I told you, anything that gives you warmth, and this is a garment. Halachically, that's called wearing. You can't sit, if this material, let's say on this chair, would be shatnez, wool and linen together, you wouldn't be allowed to sit on it.
Sit on it?
You wouldn't be allowed to sit on it. If it would be shatnez. It's not, I'm saying.
But you're not wearing it.
That's called wearing. Wearing is, if it adds warmth to your body, that's called wearing. In fact, in Russia, there was a big problem. A lot of the carriages, the seats were made out of wool and linen, and there were many great tzaddikim that they brought their own chairs, whatever. They brought their own things on the carriage. Huh?
You can't cover it with
No, because it's still let me ask you a question. If you wear a whole bunch of clothing and then you wear a coat of shatnez, it's not even touching your body. It's touching 3 layers of clothing. You're still wearing it. It's still shatnez.
What about
Karsi would be the same issue. One year, I don't know how many of you guys are basically not baseball. There's not too many Americans here that are baseball fans. But years ago, they found out that the Wilson's baseball gloves, the mitts, the gloves, there was shatnez in them. Every so often they come up with doozers. They found out, it was a whole commotion. I'm talking about, this is probably 30, 40 years ago. There was a big commotion that the Wilson's baseball mitts, the baseball gloves, had shatnez. Everybody, all the Jewish kids were playing baseball. It was a big issue for a while, and then either they corrected, they found out it was above them. I said one of the two things, but then it wasn't a problem anymore of wearing the baseball gloves. But I'm saying, or the same thing, you have another interesting shaila. The Paskim talk about what happens, I'll give you an example here. One second, where did it talk about it? Some talk about it here before. Okay, here it is. You have a scarf. Californians don't know what a scarf is, but there's something called a scarf you wear around your neck if you go to New York, Chicago, out east where it's cold. So you have something called a scarf. Why isn't the scarf a four-corner garment? Really it is. If you notice, but again, because it's only wrapping around the neck, so the poskim right, it's not a shaila of tzitzis. They bring it down, 1 second. It's not so simple if it doesn't have a shear. 1 second. I just saw it. Okay, you know, if you notice people that wear a kapota, 1 second. I just saw that they're talking about this. Mishra Brewery brings down, 1 second. Okay, whatever. Probably talks about someone. In fact, those who wear kapotas on Shabbos or during the week, a kapota is squared in the front. If you look at the back of the kapota, there's a slip more than halfway up. So that technically would be a garment that you would need tzitzis on. Why isn't there tzitzis in a kapota? If you look at somebody wearing a kapota, because one corner, the inside flap that you don't see, is actually rounded. They make it, there's a way to make it. They make it rounded. Why is it rounded? Because then you don't need tzitzis. You don't have four garments, four corners. And you have to be square.
So double-breasted suit.
No, it's not. They also, over there you don't have, you have a bigger shala on the Mexican ponchos that people wear. And mamish, you wear it over your head and this. Okay, so there's they find the leniencies and all that. The minig olam is that they don't wear tzitzis on ponchos and scarves and blankets and everything like that.
Why not a scarf if it's really wearing that?
Again, because it's only around the head. He says, it's not considered ituf if it's only around the head.
If somebody's wearing it to cover their head as well.
What?
If somebody's wearing it to cover their head as well, like mamash ituf.
The pearl, okay, the shaila is a scarf is not such a big problem because you don't have an amma.
No, there's some scarf.
Oh, the scarves are very big. The pearl, a blanket is a bigger shaila than a scarf. The reality is, a blanket is a bigger shaila than a scarf. You wake up in the morning, an hour after, 5 hours after daybreak. If you daven, certainly 11, 12 o'clock minyanim. So you wake up 5 hours after daybreak. So you're sleeping 5 hours in a blanket without tzitzis. So the poskim are all maker with this. It's not a garment, it's made for night, it's not made for day, and so on and so on.
Is there a problem to have night tzitzis? Is this specific to night?
There isn't, some people want to say it's a problem, so you should interchange a tzitzis, but really it's not, because the garment of a tzitzis is made as a day garment. Are you wearing it at night doesn't make it a night garment. What you're doing is not going to change it. The mitzias is it's made as a day garment.
If a person's wearing the same garment from yesterday morning to today morning,
So you can't make a bracha on the tzitzis unless there are poskim that say that if you Moshe take it off in the morning, you go to the mikveh, then when you put it back on, there was a hefsek, even though you could technically wear it in the mikveh. But because it's a new day in it, so they say if you take it off, go to the mikveh, you can make a new bracha.
Is it recommended to wear tzitzit when you sleep?
Yes, we just spoke about that before. It is definitely recommended. Not only that, because then according to many opinions, you get a mitzvah even at night wearing those tzitzis.
Does it matter enough to make a bracha on tzitzit before the mikveh?
He does for educational purpose, for chinuch. There's an interesting shaila, l'moshel. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Can a kid or a woman tie the tzitzis in the garment? Why, yeah?
Sometimes that's in stores. They do it for themselves.
Anyway, no, the shaila is. So many Rishonim hold b'chlal that a woman cannot tie tzitzis, or a kid under bar mitzvah cannot tie tzitzis. Why? Women are not obligated in the mitzvah of tzitzis. If you're not obligated in the mitzvah of tzitzis, how can you make the mitzvah? You have to be obligated in the mitzvah to be able to make the mitzvah. To be not the garment. We're not talking about the garments. The garment's not a problem. Anybody can make that. The tzitzis, you cannot have a goy pudding. You can't have the Ramal Moshe writes, you have to have a man has to put on the tzitzis, not women. The Magen Avraham writes, they bring down even a cotton shouldn't. There's a very interesting thing, because many times in the camps, in the overnight camps, there were years, the Rebbes gave a hirah that they should teach the kids how to make tzitzis. They should get the kids a garment, and the kids should put in the tzitzis. So for the little kids, under bar mitzvah, it's not an issue anyway. They're not obligated to, the shaila was when the 12-year-olds were doing it, the 12-and-a-half-year-old boys were doing it, so there was still a cotton. And then they ended up wearing the Tallis cotton when he became bar mitzvah also. So that was an issue. They had to undo it and redo it, whatever. But or they had to be told, once you get bar mitzvah, you can't wear this garment, because according to many opinions, a cotton can do it. Some people are meikel by ketanim, but it's not so simple. What?
Two things. Number one, is there an issue on Shabbos, for example? Sometimes it unravels. So how would you, like the top knot unravels? What would you do in that instance?
Okay, on Shabbos, you're not allowed to tie a knot. Now, each one of the knots in the tzitzis is a double knot, right? If you tighten, let's say the knots become loose in Shabbos, and you tighten it tight, you did a malacha min ha'Torah of kosher. Your mamish made a permanent knot, which is a double knot, okay? So what you need to do is you can't tighten it. You can push it down, so to speak, pull it, but you can't tighten it on the other knot. If it's, let's say it loosened 2 inches, you can move it down 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches, you know what I mean? But you can't tighten it completely.
How much is it considered to be one knot?
No, if it's on top of each other.
Has to be
There's no gimel tvachim lovet over there.
And secondly, inside the kavanah when making tzitzis, a lot of times when they're making it, just like having full-on conversations. At what point do you have?
No, as long as they say beforehand, the shem mitzvah
Once they say
tzitzis.
the
Yeah.
tzitzis, they can. That's it. They don't have to. They could just be.
By the way, there are issues, Nebuch, not all Jewish businessmen are honest. There was a time in Israel, they found out that Arab kids were making the tzitzis and the garments. It's much cheaper labor. They paid the Arabs babkes compared to what they had to pay the Jews. So the non-honest business people, they would hire Arab kids to make the tzitzis. And to make tefillin. It was a big scandal. Okay,